Okay, we're live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big Buddy Stories live streamed. My name is Phil Porter. I'm one of the co-founders, co-directors of InterPlay. And if you're not familiar with InterPlay, InterPlay is an active, creative way to unlock the wisdom of the body. And one of the things we do, well, we do a bunch of things, but a lot of them have to do with improvising. And we improvise stories, and we improvise movement, and we improvise sounds and songs. And one of the forms that we use is what we call a big body story. And in a big body story, you have access to all of those options, words and sounds and movement in any kind of combination. And so in this kind of iteration, we will each have 5 minutes to tell a big body story. And Randy will ring the bell if someone gets up against the deadline. So there is a little bit of containment to that. And we'll each be going in turn. We'll tell you a little bit about the order in a bit. If you are, and then what we do after we're done with each story, which is what we do in the regular Big Body story classes, is each of the witnesses, the people who are watching, just make a few comments in the chat box. And if you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, you will have access to the chat box on YouTube, and you can also put in a few words or phrases, anything you noticed about the story. And actually now, if you want to sign in and say, hi, it's me from wherever, you're free to do that. You don't have to, but if you'd like to do that, that would be great to know who's watching. But anyway, after each story, you have the option to also make a few comments, which we will read. So after a little minute, giving everyone a little minute to put comments in, we'll read some of those out loud and some of yours as well. And I'd like to just have us go maybe in the order that we're going to be telling stories today and have you introduce yourself. So yeah, Mary Ellen, you could start.
I'm Mary Ellen May, and I'm in Bloomington, Indiana, home of the Kickapoo and Miami and Kaskaskia nations.
And I'm Phil Porter, and I live in Oakland, California.
I'm Leroy Petunia, and I am on the territory of the Chalaki and the Saatsoyaha people, so-called Asheville, North Carolina.
I'm Ruba Bird, and I am on Kalapuya original land in Eugene, Oregon.
My name's Karen, and I am on the land of the Wodi Wodi people of the Darawal Nation in Kiama, Australia.
I'm Randy Newswanger, usually on Susquehannock land, the Conestoga land in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
All right, so I think we're ready to begin, and Mary Ellen is going to go first.
Thank you. I was washing the dishes last night after coming home from my son's basketball game. And I stopped because I was feeling weird. And I was feeling weird about yelling too loudly at the kids during the basketball game. It's just weird because I don't feel like a very competitive person. It's just a game. They're 9. It's really fun and entertaining because they barely know the rules and they're always just, forgetting to dribble and stuff like that. But this thing just comes out in me and I'm just like, it's totally unintelligible. And what was that? I never played sports. I have 3 brothers. I just didn't feel like I needed to do that. But when it comes to my kid, it's just like, it really comes out. And I'm supportive to him. I don't think I'm being mean or anything, but it was troubling because I was like, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like I can't yell at a basketball game? Everybody else is yelling. All the other parents are yelling. I'm not allowed to yell? I don't really know what it's about. My son, I was so proud of him. He has this friend on the basketball team, and they're very, very competitive. And his friend is especially competitive, and he calls him names sometimes, like clown, like that's an insult. And he comes home and complains about this friend, like really likes him, but it's just hard to be friends with them because they're always like comparing each other and who's better at this. And so one day he says, today, me and Emmanuel just decided to stop comparing ourselves to each other. And he said, and now we're best friends. And it's like all that stuff is gone. Most of the really good parenting stuff doesn't come from me. I don't know where they get it. I don't know where it comes from, but there it is. And my 12-year-old, my favorite time of day is bedtime because they both love to just talk and they open up and they share stuff. And I'm also really tired and I just kind of want to like sit on a couch and have a glass of wine at that point. But I know if I just, elongate the bedtime, it's going to be good and stuff's going to come out. And his favorite question that he came up with is, what have you been contemplating lately? And so last night, I think I was the one who first asked him that question. And he said, can I ask you something? And he said, I'm just really annoyed with people. What do you do? I'm so frustrated with people and all these kids at school are being so mean to the teacher and they have so much to do and I just cannot believe it. They just won't stop talking and just, let them have it. I don't know if I said the right thing, but I told him this is exactly what I've been dealing with lately. People are so crazy. And it was making me feel yucky. Like that doesn't feel good to always be pissed off at other people because I can't, control them. And so I said, man, that's so hard. And you're kind of up here, buddy. Like you can see things and just assume people are doing their best. That's what I've been doing and it seems to work. So try it out.
And take a deep breath. And let it out. And we'll put a few notes in the chat box. And those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you want to do some chats in the YouTube chat box, you can do that as well. Good. Mary Ellen, would you like to read them?
Randy says, lovely mysteries of my cheering or yelling, competition, and getting along with people. Ruba said, so cool that you are letting your kids see that you deal with the same things they do. Seems unusual for a parent and very connecting. Leroy said, wisdom. Phil said, the wisdom of children and how amazing they can be. Karen said, love the deep wisdom and contemplation up close and personal with the camera. And Leroy said, patterns and syncopation.
Yeah. Anything from YouTube to read?
Not yet. Oh, let's see here. Here we go. There's a little delay. So Karen says, sounds like your boy is getting some good stuff from you, Mary Ellen, and that bedtime is gold. And BJ says, the joy of exclamation.
That's good. Everybody take another deep breath. And let it out. Thank you, Mary Ellen.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm up next. I don't know if I was in junior high or high school, but my clarinet teacher made me cry. I had started playing the clarinet when I was in sixth grade. When I was in sixth grade at Rogers Elementary School in Bloomington, Indiana, yes, the very same city where Mary Ellen now lives, we had a chance to go right across the parking lot to Binford Junior High School, go Badgers, and learn how to play instruments with Mr. Kerr, who was the band teacher at Binford. It was like this kind of interesting thing that sixth graders got to do. I played the clarinet because my brother played the clarinet. It's one of the challenges and the gifts of having an older brother, because sometimes you end up doing the same things they did just because they did them, which I don't know, I guess playing the clarinet is fine, but it wasn't, as I look back, it wasn't like completely my own choice. Like, one of the good parts of having an older brother is he got a 10-speed bicycle, and I got a 10-speed bicycle much sooner much younger than he did, because he had gotten one. So, there are pluses and minuses. Maybe they're all pluses. I don't know. I like my brother. But I had played the clarinet, and then I played it in junior high, and then I played it in high school. And at some point I was taking private lessons with a clarinet person. I think he must have been a student at Indiana University, which is in Bloomington, and they have a really good music school. So they had lots of musicians around. And so I was taking private lessons. So I was serious enough as a clarinet player to be taking private lessons. I don't know if that really means very much at all, but I was taking private lessons. But here's the thing. He made me cry. Just once. And it was really my fault because I wasn't practicing enough. And he was sort of saying to me, but it's really not a whole lot we can do in these however often lessons we're getting if you don't practice. And that's why. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so disappointed in myself and you've made me feel bad. We were in Indiana, for God's sake. So it's more like, maybe just tearing up slightly. What is it about the language? It's like another language. Music is another language, and you're reading another language, and you're performing another language. And what does that do to the way you think and the way that you hear and what you experience and what you get to create with other people? And here's one of the benefits of playing the clarinet in sixth grade is at some point I figured out how to what's that word? Transcribe the music to 8 days a week, the Beatles song 8 days a week, which I'm old enough to have experienced when it first came out. And I figured out how to play that on my clarinet, and I even figured out how to notate it. I look back on that now and I think, wow, it wasn't all that complicated, but it was like, wow, I could write in another language in sixth grade. And having that musical experience, and then later singing in choirs and whatever, and never kind of taking it on as like a big thing, but as a definite something for quite a while, really played out in all kinds of ways throughout the rest of my life, even though I haven't touched a clarinet in like a lot of years. I'm not sure, but even though I cried, that I exactly, followed through in all of the ways that my clarinet teacher might have hoped. But I did keep playing through my first year of college. And so I put in my time. I put in my clarinet time, and I can take some pride in that and be grateful for a bunch of the other things that came along with that. And take a deep breath and let it out. And y'all can put some notes in the chat box. Let's see if I'm getting them. I may not be getting them in my chat box, so I might have to have someone else read them who thinks they're seeing them all. Mary Ellen, could you just do that, please?
Let's see here. Leroy says, lively, enlivening. I think I just felt the spirit of 6th grade Phil. Karen says, the rhythm of the story and the power of a discordant note to up-level practice. Love the movements and the journey. Leroy said, the awesome power of pride in oneself and noticing what we do and don't want more of. I said, loved your lively and energetic story. Music is so good. Am I missing
Randy's?
Randy and Ruba? Maybe you could read your own.
I said, oh, it feels awful to cry in front of someone when you want to be in control of your emotions, yet you still kept playing the clarinet. Kudos to you, Phil.
And I said, are clarinet lessons also life lessons?
Yeah.
From YouTube, BJ said, oh, how awful he made you cry. Pleased to hear your tenacity got you through to keep playing the clarinet for years to come. And Karen said, I think we had the same teacher. My music teacher lived next door to Johnny Unitas, since we're dating ourselves.
Good. Take a deep breath and let it out. Thank you for witnessing that story. And just so you all know, there's something going on with the chat box. And this has been happening over in some of the classes that all the messages aren't coming through, so we may have to have other people read them. So thank you for doing that. And Leroy, you're next.
I really thought I was gonna make a sound first, but I guess it really doesn't matter which came first, the sound or the movement, because you get to have more of both and learning, which makes it a little less anxiety-inducing about choices, which has historically been a great source of nerves. Like I can only have one or the other. And it's of great importance to make the right decision. First time, first try. There goes the dog. He knows. He's learning that his decision to be in the middle of the floor while the human is getting loud and big is maybe a decision he would like to change midway through the story. You can do it. You know, you're a smart friend. And I appreciate all the things that you have to teach me. But did I come out of the womb growling or screaming? It occurs to me, I've never actually asked my parents, was I like wailing my face off like the typical baby when I popped out? Or was I just like as people pleasery as I am now and like silent and just perfect little baby? I don't know, questions to follow up on. But, and or both and. The chicken or the egg? I just want to know, when they say first things first, well, I wasn't there. I think that you gotta just do something. You gotta rip off the Band-Aid and just go woo-ja-boo-ja-boo-ja-boo-ja-boo-ja-boo-ja-boo, and the rest will like as itself. Although I do like eggs and they're becoming more expensive. But so many creatures just lay them all of the time. I mean, even humans, some of us have some of those. And I've heard that, in fact, the eggs that my mother had, great grandmother, like we're all inside one long line of grandmother eggs. Something about that genetic material. Have you ever seen frog eggs before and how they're like one small intestine? It's very long and it's very full of eggs. And it's February here in the mountains of so-called North Carolina. There are already frogs hatching and telling full-blown stories with full-blown choruses of frogs. And when they sing, I think they sound like chickens. Some people feel uncomfortable in the presence of chickens. Others feel deeply comforted.
And take a deep breath and let it out. And we'll put some notes in the chat box.
I want to give people time to keep thinking, though. I think I see one from every person present in my cohort of big body storyers. So should I go ahead and read them?
Go right ahead. Yep.
Okay. Ruba says, what a great question, Leroy. How you came out of the womb. Never ever thought of that one before. And I love how your dog's tail was wagging and wagging in the background. Clearly see a lot of love there. Not surprising. Randy says, I love how you play with up close, especially your people pleasery face. Karen says, Leroy, a delightful ramble through the mountains of North Carolina, complete with a dog, frogs, and chickens. Whole barnyard. Phil says, but and or both. Loved the sense of spaciousness in the possibilities. Mary Ellen says, what a fun cornucopia of wonderings, funny and full. And Ruva says, and grandmother eggs.
And on YouTube, Karen said, I think you were born smiling and laughing. Loved your wanderings, Leroy. BJ said, yes, it's all about the and, the multiple perspectives available all at once, potent with possibilities, just like eggs. Makes me wonder who was screaming when you were born, who was silent.
It's good. Take a deep breath and let it out. Thank you, Leroy. Ruba, you're up next.
Okay. Is that the one? Yes, hearts, hearts, hearts. Because it's Valentine's Day a couple of days ago. And Valentine's Day for me, I don't know, maybe I've lived too long. This was my 62nd Valentine's Day. Is that even possible? Well, apparently so. And I don't remember all of them. I remember those little boxes that we made in elementary school with the slit in the top, and then everybody brought their Valentines to school and put them in the box, and then you got to open it and look at the Valentines. And I remember some years like that. For me, Valentine's Day is fun and not so fun, and it kind of depends on the year, really. So, boy, it was over 30 years ago that on the day before Valentine's Day, I met the person whom I would marry at the end of that year. But then 5 years later, on the day after Valentine's Day, we were in the courthouse finalizing our divorce. So how did the middle of February pull in those experiences? But it's fun to make things, like with doilies. Do you remember finding doilies and like cutting out the lace edges around the doily and then gluing it on your Valentines, And I mean, it's sort of a limited spectrum of colors, at least it was for me as a kid. Red, pink, different shades of pink, different shades of red, maybe slightly magenta, which was my favorite color in the Crayola Crayon 69 colors box. By the way, I saw in the store the other day, there's a box of like 129 or 69 or 39 or something, different Crayola colors, like double the number that they had in the 69 colors box. And I almost bought it. It was $10, so I didn't, but I might. Now that I'm telling a story about it, shouldn't I have those colors? And then I'll have to put them in rainbow order, like I did when I was a kid. Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. I was very proud of knowing what Roy G. Biv was. That was rainbow order when I was a kid. So, as a kid, Valentines were for our friends, but now, as a grown-up, it's like, if you have a sweetheart, and if your sweetheart listens to the things that you say that you want on romantic occasions, which is not always the case, then you might have a fun time on Valentine's Day. And I hope that each and every one of you had something fun on Valentine's Day. For me, I got a Valentine and I got it in the mail. My amazing friend, Anne Marie, sends these actual written, arty sorts of cards and letters all the time, not even for occasions, but she made me a Valentine. And I'm so happy. If it was the only Valentine it was that I got this year, being single again, for a true friend. Well, it was from a true friend too. Wow. And then the other thing that I didn't get to do on Valentine's Day, but I'm doing it right now, is to show you my favorite Valentine's joke that I made up all by myself years ago, but I often don't remember to share it with anyone. So do you all know what this is? Okay. Do you know? It's a vowel on time. It's a Valentine. And I made that up myself. It so satisfies my punster brain, like just more than just about anything else. So now I've had the best Valentine's Day ever because I got to show you all a Valentine.
And take a deep breath and let it out. And we'll put some notes in the chat box.
I'm seeing a couple of them, and if I see others pop up, I'll read them, but there might be some not getting through. Karen said, yes, you will definitely have to buy that box of double Crayola crayons. So much of life surrounding a day in the middle of February. Randy said, such great Valentine adventures over 62 cycles. And Mary Ellen said, such a lovely way to acknowledge the complexities of this day. Phil said, a perfect story to complement Leroy's weather. Did you mean sweater? Yes, noticing your sweater too, Leroy, which, can affect the weather. Red and pink and shades of pink. I seem to remember those school days Valentines involved perforations. Leroy said, fantastic, Ruba. A Valentine, friendship as brilliant as rainbows, the gift of love, blessings, and expanding color palettes, while some things stay the same. Roy G. Biv forever. And Phil said, oh, sweater, not weather. Thank you, everybody.
Take a deep breath and let it out. Oh, I forgot to have you read the ones from YouTube.
BJ said, your joke, so innovative. I'm thinking like an virtual degustation. And yes, the Crayola range now is so exciting. And Karen said, loved traveling down memory lane with you, Ruba, and your Valentine. Yes, by the crayons. Such fun and truth.
That's great. Thank you, Ruba. All right, Karen.
Who remembers this song? We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. Do you remember that song? Like, there's so much of life that's coming around to smack me in the head right now. It's this birthday arriving. There's this birthday arriving. And I know, like, people say, follow the science, but really it's math that proves the science. So you have to look at the math. But when you look at the math, and in Australia we would say maths, when you look at the maths, it would say that the seasons in the sun that I have cycled through are more than what the spirit that lives in my body thinks. It's like there's this birthday card that's going to come. I know someone's going to post me one in the mail and it's going to have this number on it. And I'm going to go, I wonder who this is for. I mean, they've sent the card to the wrong address. And I'm supposed to write a story, like this 12-minute story where I have to memorize every single word and I have to bring my whole body into it. And when I do a whole body story, I do it like a whole body and I allow the words to come out. But I have to memorize this. And it has to explore parts of my life and bring something into it. And there was this one time I got a bike. I got a bike for Christmas. And it was tied up. Like, we used one of Dad's work socks as our Christmas stocking. And at the end of this work sock, there was this piece of string, like brown string that you tie parcels up with. And the string went down and on the floor and it went into Mum and Dad's room. And my sisters and I were exploring this string and we go, they want to know when we wake up because it'll jangle something because it's on the end of the sock. But no, that was not the case. And so when you look at something and you see and you think it's this, but you know it's not the case, what they wanted us to do was to follow the string. Like, follow the string. There was no way we were going into Mum and Dad's room to wake them up. Like, that did not happen in our family, but that's what they wanted. And if we followed the string, we would have seen these flat, shiny bikes. These flat, shiny bikes. And when we finally got them and we got on them and we'd never learned how to ride a bike. And I think, like, in retrospect, I think one of the first things you need to know when you learn to ride a bike is how to put the brakes on. Because this first time I'm on my bike and we had this big front yard and I get on the bike and there's a gate out the driveway and then there's a highway. And on the other side of the highway, there's some grass, the grass verge, and then there's a wooden fence. We met up close and personal. Like, I saw it, but I didn't know how to stop before I went across the highway. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. And that bike was like this epitome of freedom. And now I know it's like a direct correlation to the suffragettes and when women had freedom because they could ride a bike, and when women had freedom because they had pockets. Well, for me, I could sing at the top of my voice. Every morning I would ride up to the bakery and buy bread and I'd have it in my basket, and on the way down I'd be singing. My hair was flowing. I was going at the speed I wanted. By this time, I knew how to put the brakes on because you had to do a sharp left turn. Otherwise, you're in the creek. And it's those tiny little moments of running into a fence, like, let's not put anything else on that. It was the moment I ran into a fence at full speed, not knowing where my brakes. That could have been a major lesson in understanding life. Isn't it funny? It's like you get them in retrospect. And the teacher at my school, we had to turn up at the piano and sing a note in front of the whole class. My teacher said to me, "You can't sing descant." Like I'm 11, as if I'm going to know what descant means. And as if I'm going to ask the teacher in front of the room what it means. I've already been humiliated by saying I can't sing it. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, and it really doesn't matter the number.
Oops, Phil, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Take a deep breath and let it out. And we'll put some notes in the chat box. Karen, would you like to read them?
Phil says, "I can see you flying on your bike, and it is somehow not surprising that you didn't know how to stop." And Mary Ellen says, "I could see you riding down the hill with your hair flowing and singing at the top of your lungs in the sun. Those were all sweet memories."
Mm.
There might be more that aren't showing up.
I
And
said,
Leroy says, "An
Oh, go ahead.
exhilarating ride, Karen. We can learn to put the brakes on the bike, but not on in time. Having joy, having fun, having seasons of discovery. The pleasure of being able to ride oneself to fresh bread, following the string."
It's good.
Ruba?
yes, Karen, I love the phrase birthday arriving. Joyful celebration of you is arriving soon and is already here. I know you will follow the string into even more free and fun seasons in the sun.
And I loved the recurring song, the life lessons and fences and breaks, such good reflections.
Take another deep breath. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead online.
DJ said, "OMG, joy can smack me in the head anytime. Love took me right back to those moments in time. One song interweaving into a powerful ending." And Karen said, in the Plum Village tradition, we call those glorious days continuation days. Oh, I love that song. Thank you for the bike ride."
It's good. Take another deep breath and let it out. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
And Randy.
Oh, down at the end of Naomi Avenue, a dead-end street, that stops at the cornfield. On the left is an A-frame house, and it had at least three, I think there were 3 maple trees in the front yard, and at least 2 in the backyard. Maybe there was a third one. And the front yard trees, by the time I was 3 or 4, I could reach up into the tree and start climbing. In the summer, the green leaves, and go up and go up and go up and go up, and see if you could get to the part where there was just one more layer of leaves up. The branches were too thin to go any higher, but to go to the place where there was just one more layer of leaves between you and the sky, and you look up into the blue. Could climb there, could sit, the way you can get your body to scrunch up in comfortable and uncomfortable ways when you're sitting in the crook of a tree, because and then you slide a little bit, and then but somehow sitting that way got my shoe with its shoelaces close enough that I was practicing tying my shoes, and I got my shoe tied, and I jumped down and I ran inside to show Mom I tied my shoe, and by the time I got there, it wasn't tied anymore, of course. Sometimes there was a robin's nest, and sometimes in the spring, like, not all the robins would fly like a kid. That's what I learned. That's where I learned what a tiny little robin looks like when it's in the nest, and what a tiny little robin looks like when it's no longer in the nest on the ground. Oh, that's where I learned what an opossum looks like. I don't know if you've ever seen an opossum up close. Like, when they get scared, like, they play dead. But the opossum on the sidewalk leading to the front door in the sun wasn't moving at all, and Mom said not to get too close to it. I'm not sure what she was worried about, but that's when I saw an opossum up close. Saturday afternoons or Sunday afternoons when Dad was home, there were 3 maple trees, but there was still enough space in the front yard to run football patterns. You could pretend that you were gonna score a touchdown, and Dad would throw and run around. And I had 2 brothers, so sometimes there were probably tackles involved. But I think in the best version without competition was the one where if you would just catch it and be successful and imagine scoring a touchdown. It was probably long before I knew what a Super Bowl was. The Super Bowl just happened, and I made a decision. I've been doing some squats and some push-ups to work on my flexibility, and I decided before this Super Bowl that I was going to do 3 squats and 2 push-ups for every point that was scored, thinking, the final score might be something like 7-14 or something like that. And within the first 5 minutes, there were 2 touchdowns, and then I had to do 21 squats and 14 push-ups, and another 21 squats and 14 push-ups. And if you can calculate by the end that there were 73 points, and you can multiply that, I did 219 squats over the course of 3 hours, and I'm never gonna make that kind of commitment to myself. At halftime, I almost changed my mind. I thought, if Rihanna can float above the crowds on a beautiful platform, I can cancel my commitments to myself. But I didn't. I have to admit, at the very end, not all of the push-ups were full push-ups because I was just too exhausted. But it was. That's what sore muscles feels like, and that's what catching a Nerf football in the front yard feels like, and that's where I learned what wild animals look like in the front yard of that house at the end of Naomi Avenue in Landisville.
And take a deep breath and let it out. And we'll put some notes in the chat box.
So here are some comments. Ruba says, a whole world to explore from the top of the tree. Robins, opossums, and shoestrings, oh my. And you know, a lot of life is spent retying laces that come untied. Love hearing the clear memories from the treetop, Brandy. Karen says, the fleeting moment of joy of a tied lace in the tree of a front yard. Powerful imagery of what happens in a yard with a little imagination. Phil says, wow, more football in that story than I would ever have imagined. I'm glad that Rihanna didn't interfere with your commitments to yourself. Mary Ellen says, love to look up at the sky through the leaves in a tree. I can relate to your mom not wanting you to get too close to an opossum. Congrats on your unexpected squats and push-ups. Leroy says, first I noticed relief that what happened at the end of the shoe tying in the tree story was not you falling out of the tree. Thank goodness. Possums are super exciting, float like Rihanna, sting like an over-squatted muscle. Oof. Thank you. Those are great comments. Mary Ellen, were there some on YouTube?
Yes, PJ said, such exquisite illusory descriptions, Randy. Sensorily evocative.
Yeah.
And take a deep breath and let it out. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the end of our stories. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're online, if you're watching this later on, we hope you also enjoy it. They will be posted on our channel. We're doing one more of these on March 2nd, I believe, also at 3:30 or whatever it is, 3:35 Pacific time. So please join us. And thanks again for being here, and hope you have a great day. Bye now. And thank you all, storytellers. Yay!